So the entire national NFL media is kind of in a pause mode when it comes to the Houston Texans. I got a text from Greg Rosenthal from the NFL Network a couple days ago. He said, so what the hell's going on with Texans in the training camp? He felt like news has been relatively sparse. And I think that has a lot to do with C.J. Stroud. I think that people are high on C.J. Stroud. They like C.J. Stroud. And yet because of last year's regression by the offense and all of the moving parts, they're kind of just waiting and seeing before they update whatever they say C.J. Stroud 2.0 is, which is a good thing because I do think most of the people that pay attention, and especially the former quarterbacks and analysts that break down film, really, really like C.J. Stroud. They just know that it was a quagmire of a situation last year. So I always get very, very intrigued when I see anonymous quotes from executives and whatnot. And Mike Sando from The Athletic put together an article. There's a link to the whole article below where they surveyed 50 or interviewed 50 anonymous executives and coaches from the NFL. Got some quotes from them that I'm going to play here or show here, but also put things into tiers. And by the way, I'm going to be putting the audio from most of my YouTube videos onto my Bleav in Texans podcast. I've got links to Apple and Spotify below. I still need to update those, but Cecil Shorts and I go a couple times a week. And I'll tell you something really interesting that Cecil said about the Cade Stover missed completion for a touchdown in the game the other day. But that's for a lot of you that want to be able to listen to the podcast but can't always watch the video. The audio will be on the Bleav in Texans podcast. So Mike Sando from The Athletic, I like his articles because you can trust that these anonymous quotes are real and not fabricated. People trust him. They know that he's the real deal. And he put CJ ending up in the second tier of quarterbacks. He was tied for ninth, and for the life of me, I can't remember with whom, but right about where most people are ranking C.J. Stroud right now, as he remains in evaluation purgatory until they see exactly what Nick Caley's offense looks like and if the offensive line can be better around him. I've got 5 quotes here from some of these anonymous executives, and I want to rate their ratings on him. These are all largely pretty positive. I wish I could dangle some real juicy nugget that you hate out here, but because that gets clicks. But you know me. He got rattled. I'll put that on the thumbnail. He got rattled because of the offensive line. And you saw that in his play. When I watched them, I felt like he felt the rush. Because of that, I still think the talent is in there 100%. And this isn't news to any of us. I think that it's always nice to hear verification from other people that observe and don't have a stake in the game necessarily, that the offensive line was an issue, but so was pass protection from the tight ends, the running backs, the blocking on screens from tight ends. It was a mess, and hopefully that was really just because of a combination of Bobby Slowick not putting things together the right way and Chris Strausser, the offensive line coach, just having one foot out the door wanting to retire. And also, as Strausser said in that recent, I think it was a Washington Post article, he really didn't have a lot of familiarity with running a scheme like that, and which is odd. I feel like he could have educated himself over the course of 2 years, but it's neither here nor there. I think the pass protection, just from what I've seen from the last week of training camp and then from the first preseason game, I think they will be better for a variety of reasons. One is just better fundamentally sound football play out of the offensive line. 2 is C.J. Stroud being a little bit more involved in the pass protection pre-snap, being able to either set protection or tweak the play calling based on what he sees coming at him. That's going to be big. Second quote here. Everybody wants to downgrade CJ. His number one receiver was out. The line did not play great. The run game wasn't there like it should have been. Right. The only thing I disagree with there is that everybody wants to downgrade CJ. I think everybody wants to upgrade CJ. I think there are a lot of people who had very positive things to say about CJ Stroud after his rookie year that would really, if anything, they want to upgrade CJ Stroud. They feel like he could be in that top 5 category, but they just can't do it given the numbers and the performance from last year. So I disagree with him on that. Number one receiver is out. The line did not play great. The run game wasn't there like it should have been. If anything, I'm going to find myself, I guess, arguing more on being more critical for this particular quote. Yes, Nico was out, but when Nico was out, Stefan was in and/or Tank Dell was in. But then in the second half of the season, Stefan's out. Tank Dell is out. Tank Dell, I think, was marginalized more, again, partly because of just the offense that he was running before he got injured. So I will make excuses for CJ in terms of whether or not he had his guys. One thing that's interesting, though, about Nico is Nico has played so well when he's healthy since CJ came into the scene that people almost act like Nico was already an elite wide receiver before CJ got here. No, CJ unlocked Nico. Nico wasn't that same guy when Davis Mills was throwing him the ball and when perhaps other offensive coordinators were his coordinator. So I don't. It's really hard. I hate it when I see it because this comes up with Jordan Love versus C.J. Stroud a lot. People say, well, C.J.'s got Nico Collins. Oh, yeah, you mean the second-round pick that was largely an afterthought to the rest of the league before C.J. became his quarterback? Go die. Others, not you. I like this guy. Next anonymous quote about C.J. Stroud. I read an article, as Sean Pendergast pointed out this morning. This guy... I like that this is a coach, an offensive coach. I'm guessing an offensive line coach saying, I read an article. They said it's time for him to take the next step. What is the next step? It's time for his team to take the next step. He's pretty damn productive. I like this guy too. Other than that, I question his standards because any great quarterback, I think, will tell you that he's always working on taking the next step. Any great athlete is always telling you that, hey, no, I've got more. I want to learn more. I'm still figuring things out. Tom Brady was still learning things at the end of his career. And I think CJ's wired very much the same way. The next step for CJ, if you take him and say make circumstances better last year, I think there is still the same thing that many young quarterbacks, I would say almost every single young quarterback goes through. The ones who end up being great tend to have a pretty aggressive mindset, and it's a matter of learning how to balance that out with taking the easy money. We saw Pat Mahomes go through it. We've seen just multiple other quarterbacks know that if you got a young quarterback that's awesome at the dinking and dunking, you hate to be in the position of saying like, hey, fella, don't be afraid to be aggressive downfield a little bit. It's okay. It's the old saying, like if a puppy doesn't bite when he's a puppy, he's not going to bite when he's an adult. You want a certain amount of ferocity in young players. Defensive linemen especially. You love the head cases. I love a defensive lineman that's too violent for his own damn good because we can tamp that back a little bit. It's hard to teach a nice guy how to be vicious and how to be mean and how to be aggressive. We typically send them over to the other side of the ball. Those guys get called out before they get to the NFL. If he's a little too gentle to be a defensive lineman in college, he's an offensive lineman. So likewise with quarterbacks, I prefer my quarterbacks to have to learn that, all right, sometimes I got to check it down. Sometimes I got to take the easy money. And CJ understands that intellectually. It's a matter of ingraining it into your muscle memory that on first down, if my first read is an easy 5 yards plus a run after catch, I am taking that. I don't have to overthink it. Take the easy money. It's just hard. It's hard, but it's good. Very similar to Love in that some of the disguises, he'll hold onto the ball quite a bit, take some sacks, throw it into coverage at times. The decision-making can be average. That's about as harsh as it gets here. The decision-making can be average. I'm very much willing to, chalk some of that off to what we talked about. He's got an appetite for these downfield throws, and sometimes he turns up the easy stuff while he's waiting for stuff to clear downfield. I think if you fast forward 10 years, if CJ's playing behind pass protection like he had last year, he'll have learned his lessons. He probably learned the lesson last year, but he'll understand that at times, all right, if I've got 5-man pass protection, I can't be sitting around waiting for a deep route to clear versus cover 2. I got to take what I have in front of me, and we'll live to fight another day. That's part of just balancing out, knowing and understanding when you have the guys who can hold up in front of you and when you don't. And like last year, he could not trust those guys. Number 4, very similar to Love. As far as getting confused by the coverages, there is some of that because some of it just takes reps. Most quarterbacks aren't until their 4th or 5th year really getting comfortable to the point where they can recognize the disguises, the rotations, everything, and not even have to think about it. It just takes reps. The other part of it's just the psychology. He can carry this team. He's special in my eyes because he can throw from the pocket. He can throw off schedule. He's been really good with the game on the line. The thing that would sway me to go to tier 3, was his performance at Green Bay. I wasn't crazy about the play calls at the end, but if he had won that game, he would be a solid 2. He is a tier 2 to tier 3 guy for me. This one's an interesting one because it implicates Bobby Slowick in it, does it not? And that whole sequence, if you can remember at the end of the Green Bay game, there were a couple of everything that we've already talked about, a couple of those elements that played into that final drive where the Texans really needed to soak clock at that point. And one of the decisions that CJ made was when he tried to throw, he made that throw to Tank Dell on the sideline that ended up being incomplete, but even if it had been complete, it didn't help them at all because Tank would have gone out of bounds. So the clock stopped, and it didn't get them a first down. It didn't help them soak clock. But and on that same play as well, there's the decision making on, and you could argue it was better to take a sack in that situation, but I Bleav it was the same play where, because CJ had been rattled by the poor pass protection. Remember in that game, he got hit by unblocked defenders multiple times. There were a couple plays where the offensive tackle and the running back were blocking the same guy, while meanwhile the edge rusher was completely unaccounted for. So things weren't being sorted out or communicated properly. CJ had taken a beating, and if he had hung on a little bit longer, and this is a double-edged sword. Here I'm criticizing him for making a quick decision, but on that particular play, given the game management, if he had waited, if he had gone through his progression, if he had felt comfortable enough to do it, he could have hit John Mechie. So it was for a touchdown. It was in the fourth quarter of a lot of these games. Kansas City and Green Bay are the ones that really stick out, where you could see that, man, by the fourth quarter, he just did not have the ability to trust those guys. So I think for the most part, most of you guys are probably in agreement with everything that these scouts here said. There's honest excuses to be made for C.J. Stroud. It's just a matter of actually seeing him execute it this year, hopefully with a better offensive coordinator in Nick Caley. Yes, need a good clock soaker. Oh, wait, see, I almost banned you. I'm learning this software, but I almost banned you accidentally. In function, I would never try to do that. I honestly Bleav Stroud is a tier 1 quarterback. I think most of the people, I think most of these scouts and personnel people also Bleav that. It's just a matter of getting the right circumstances around him. You can go through all the same exercises of, okay, if C.J. Stroud had Andy Reid as his coordinator last year, what would it have looked like? I think it would have looked a lot different. I don't think that's a huge stretch or exercise in imagination. This is I think Ursary has the potential to be a nasty offensive lineman. Oh, let me, as far as Cecil and what he said on the Bleav in Texans podcast, I had him go through the Cade Stover, the play where Davis Mills seemingly overthrew Cade Stover. Cecil 100% felt like Cade wasn't on his proper landmarks on that play, and that he should have been more out on the numbers where he was more in by the hash. So Davis threw the ball to where Cade Stover should have been on that play, and that's what it looks like when you go back and rewatch it. So I give Davis Mills obviously a pass on that one because I think he made the throw where he should have made the throw. And Cade Stover I give a pass because these are one of the things that, as a very young and still very inexperienced tight end, you got to hammer out during the preseason. He's made a lot of progress and improvement. So I like most of all that the scheme sprung Cade Stover open on that. I also like that on that play, Davis made a very quick decision. Remember, Blake Fisher didn't have a good pass protection rep going. And if Davis hadn't gotten rid of the ball when he did, if he had gotten rid of the ball like an eighth of a second later, could have very easily been a strip sack because that defender was coming rounding the hoop right behind him. So the Bleav in Texans podcast, if you click on the links below, I'll add the other links from the other platforms at some point, or just search it. We have a YouTube channel as well. The headline writing for that podcast was a little bit aggressive for me. And I had a chat with Bleav because I'm all for it. I get the sensationalism of the headlines and the clicks, but I felt like it went a little bit too far. So I told them to be a little bit more missionary when you write these headlines a little bit. It's hard to go down and look at the comments and see that 2/3 of them are basically they think that I or Cecil write the headlines are basically clickbaiting whores. I'm a whore in many regards, but not when it comes to clickbait. You guys know that. My boredom. I try to tell it to you straight. I'm going to get going. I want to talk more in depth about the Brevin Jordan injury and the C.J. Stroud's emotional response. We'll get to all of that and the controversy that ensued from just what I don't think was a big deal at all, but we'll get to that stuff later. Thanks everybody. Oh, please hit a like before you go and subscribe by all means. If you're still here right now, by all means subscribe.